very excited when someone comes to her for healing, and this is the scene. I'll just read it to you. She could not believe how fast life moved, how quickly everything changed. In her hour of need, God sent her a miracle, and she had doubted. This was grace made evident. Even she, the least deserving, received manna in the desert. She was mad with ecstasy. She didn't know if it was romance or religion, and she didn't care. She could not contain herself, and rather than descend the stairs slowly, like a fine lady, she thundered down and leaped off the last 3 steps to crash on the wooden floor. Tomas, in his office, shouted, "Who let a buffalo in the house?" She spun before the hallway mirror, trying her dance steps, working the tassels of her shawl. She could not stop smiling. She spun out the door and sashayed on the porch. She looked across the yard and saw a disheveled man at the gate, sitting miserably in a small carriage. She raised her hand in a tentative greeting. "Saint," he called, an American. "Please." She stepped down to the ground and gestured for him to come forward. He jumped down and rushed to her, taking her hands in his. "My name is Rosencrantz," he said. "I'm a friend of your father's. Please." He closed his eyes. He was frantic. "My son. They can't do anything. Dr. Birch." "What is wrong with your son?" she asked in Spanish. "Cerebral infection. He's dying. Can you help him, please?" Jamie Rosencrantz lay abed, twisted in agony, barely able to breathe. When Teresita entered his room, he did not know if he was seeing an angel or not. She made his eyes pop wide when she came through the door, all rustling, colored skirts, colorful braids. He was surprised that for a moment he didn't notice the deep throbbing pain that poured out of the back of his head and twisted his body. His mother kept kissing the angel's hands. The room smelled of sweat and bread and urine. He made terrible choking whistles as he wrestled with the air. "His lungs," his mother cried. "Yes, I hear. His whole body is going." "I see." She came to him and smiled. Her eyes, they were so lulling. He lay and stared up at her. He himself looked like a starving angel to her. The little bones of his chest, the sad sugar bones of his face, glowing through the skin, nearly clear from pain. Teresita put her hand on his brow. He gasped. He arched his back a little. "Duele?" she asked him. He understood her. He nodded. "Puedes caminar?" "No," he whispered. "I can't walk no more." She nodded. She looked at his mother and father and said, "Please." She gestured toward the door. They did not want to leave the room. They were weeping openly, though Mr. Rosencrantz was trying hard to hide it. "Please," she repeated. They backed out. She closed the door. She sat on the bed with Jamie. The entire bed was wet with his sweat and his dribbles. "Is bad your pain?" she asked in English. "Yes." She smoothed his blonde hair out of his face. "Are you scared?" One tear rolled out of his eye. "No." "Tired?" "Yes." She put her hand back on his brow. "Do you know where you go when you die?" He shook his head. He did not know what language she was speaking, but he could now understand her perfectly well. "Do you know who I am?" He shook his head. "I am Teresita." "Jamie," he whispered. "Yes, I know." She motioned with her hand for him to move over. He was able to scoot a few inches to the left. She lay a white towel on the wet spot on the mattress, and she kicked off her sandals and laid down beside him. She put out her arm and said, "Come to me." He nestled against her. She embraced him, brought his little face to her breast. "Listen to my heart," she said. He listened. I was dead once, she said. Can you believe that, Jamie? It was a long time ago. And I want you to know that death is not terrible. No, no. Death is peaceful. There's only a door. On the other side. Do you like deer, Jamie? He smiled. Who doesn't like deer, Jamie, right? Right. Deer and grandmothers. They wait for you. Jamie closed his eyes. I miss Mama, he admitted. She misses you. But she is in no hurry for you to get there. She tickled him so lightly he barely felt it, and he giggled weakly and almost squirmed. Hurts so bad, though, he said. Listen to my voice, Jamie. Can you do that for me? Can you listen to my voice? Listen to my heart. Hold on to me. Yes. Can you smell roses? Yes. When I died and went to the other world, that smell came to me. That way you know I am telling you the truth, because people don't smell like roses, do they? Father, it smells like tobacco, he said, and sweat. She laughed. Trust the roses then. I was there for a short while, but I came back home. I had work to do. And do you know what that work is? What? I was sent back here to ease the suffering of God's little ones. Like who? Like you, Jamie. He was quiet. You can't do that. I can. He was quiet again. Why? Because I love you. He put his arms around her. How? I do it by loving you. I just told you. Mother loves me, Father loves me, but I'm dying. Mother has not learned what I have learned. They could hear a clock ticking outside the room. Teresita could hear Mr. and Mrs. Rosencrantz listening at the door. Jamie's breath whistled. How is your pain? She asked. He paused as if listening for it. Better, he said. Good. She laid her free hand on his face. She made a small sign on his forehead with her thumb. Remember that death is not terrible. It is sad. What is sad is that we will miss you terribly if you left us right now. We would cry, Jamie, and I have to tell you, you will die. One day. Not today. Not tomorrow. I have looked into you. I've seen the sickness. I'm taking it from you and giving it to God. Let God have it. Let God put it into a worm or a beetle, not you. Jamie laughed softly. That's silly. I have seen you are a good boy, and I know I would miss you if you died, so I won't let you die. I'm a terrible woman. I'm very selfish. You are simply too handsome to die right now. Ah, he buried his face, mortified and delighted. Girls like me need boys like you in the world. He smiled. He was so tired now. He felt like he was sinking through the bed, through the floor, sinking into the earth itself. I will let you sleep. You want to sleep now, do you not? Yes, I know. You sleep now, Jamie, and you will wake up stronger tomorrow. You will dream tonight of hummingbirds. Go with them. I know you cannot walk now, but the hummingbirds will teach you to fly in your sleep. They are called semalu. Can you say it? Semalu. He whispered. Good. You will wake up tomorrow, and when you do, you must eat. Eat soon. You promise? He nodded. The day after tomorrow, I want you to sit up and hug your mother. In 3 days, I want you to get out of your bed and hug your father. Will you do this for me? He was starting to yawn. I'll try. No, you will not try. You will do it. Say it. I will do it. Say it, Jamie. He smiled into her ribs. I will rise. She kissed his forehead. Good boy, she said, but he was already asleep. She went out into the hall. 3 days, she said. Better than 3 weeks? Waved her hands before her. Healed. Mrs. Rosencrantz slumped against her husband and put her hand over her mouth. Teresita said, Leo se me cuelgue. She turned and walked out the door, thinking about the dance.